भूत्वादीन गणेश करुणया कोपीन कंथासितौ।
All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. We're happy to announce today that the online group, the Facebook group that we started some 8 months or 10 months ago, has now reached 4,500 members. And we're increasing the membership on a daily basis with everyone's help in this group. And we want to thank you all for your participation on a regular basis with our classes here at the Zoom meetings. This is the new method for reaching out to people globally that's being used by many, many people in social media. And it's proving to be very effective. It is also interesting to note that if all the members here continue to participate on a regular basis in these classes, they will also be getting a taste of Krishna consciousness through oral reception, authentic oral reception. So we certainly are glad to see you joining us on a regular basis to participate. It's very encouraging. And continue to proselytize the Prabhupada Disciples Association and its work to all your networks of people wherever you live globally. And this will help us in fulfilling Prabhupada's desire to spread Krishna consciousness to every town and village in the world. So today, we're going to continue on with the Prabhupada Disciples reading of, here we have, the Jaladuta Diary, which is a really wonderful, authentic book, giving people that, like us, an insight into Prabhupada's deep realizations of Krishna consciousness, and also his long-term motive to spread the mission. This wasn't just something he came up with one day and decided he was going to do, but it was a lifetime of preparation, a lifetime. So in the same way, all of us, we have our lifetime. We have to properly focus ourselves according to Śrīla Prabhupāda's example. So this is called Markani Bhagavat Dharma, and by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami at Boston Harbor, September 18th, 1965. Baro Kripa Koli Krishna Adharma Prati Ki Liji Ya Nili Heta Kora Abi Gati. Translation. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. Ache kuchi karja taba e anumani nahi keno naibian e ugrastani. Translation. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Rajastamo guni era sabe achana Vasudeb kata ruchi nahi se prasana. Translation. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. Tabe jadi taba kripa hoy ahoitiki sakal I sambhava hoy tumi sa kotuki. But translation, but I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. He bhava bhujal hali tara bhuje sei rasa eta kripa koro prabhu kori nicha bhasa. Translation. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service, O Lord? I'm simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. And that's all of us. Tomara ichaya sabahoy maya bhasa, tomara ichaya nasa maya parasa. Translation. All living entities have become under the control of the illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of Maya. Taba icha hoy jadi tarer udara buji behe nishchai tabe kata sa se tamara. Translation. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. So Prabhupada is praying for all of us here very, very concisely in this poem. Bhagavater kata sa se taba avatar. Dira hoya sune jada kane barabar. The words of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are your incarnation. And if a sober person repeatedly receives it with submissive oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message. So Prabhupada speaking from his heart. He's revealing his deepest spiritual desires and emotions without the formation of any movement, simply his intention to do so. It is said in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam verse 17 to 21, Shrinvata swakata Krishnas punya shravana kirtanaha hridayanta stohi abhidrani vihunoti saritsatam Nasta prayeshu habradeshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki tada rasha tamo bhava kama lobha dayaschai eta eter anavidham stititam safate prasiditi Evam prasana manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vigyanam mukta sangasya jayate vidyate hridaya granthas chidyante sarva samshayaha shiyanti chasma karmani drista etmana vishware. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma Supersoul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are themselves virtuous, when properly heard and chanted by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passionate ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy, thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness. The man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. And that's in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus, the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. So we'll end there. We've got another section of the poem we'll read tomorrow, and or on Wednesday for our next class, which will be Chaitanya Charitamrita. We already have a question, but we won't be answering them right now. But after the class given by Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, we'll be happy to answer any questions or accept any comments that the devotees want to make in the session of Krishna Consciousness Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class. We're going to ask Vinkat Prabhu to please, we're moving forward with the prospectus from the League of Devotees. This was an earlier attempt to establish a group of people to work together in spreading Krishna consciousness in India. And this ISKCON movement, the Prabhupada further developed in 1966 in New York City, was a continuation of this effort as he was marching forward to bring the message of Lord Chaitanya to the world. So, Vinkat Prabhu, please, if you could move forward with the reading, a brief reading from the League of Devotees book. We're reading the point-by-point directives that he was giving based on his understanding of what should be done to promote the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya.
Yes. So yesterday we read until point G.
Yes.
So we'll carry on with H. To propagate and realize the highest truth as revealed by Lord Chaitanya through his philosophy known as Achintya Bheda Veda Tattva, everything simultaneously one and different from the absolute truth, and other allied books of knowledge as revealed by the sixth authorized disciple Goswamis, headed by Śrīla Rupa and Śrīla Sanatan. I, to re-excavate and or reclaim the holy places of transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, as well as the places where his devotees flourished, including the various temples of worship. J, to prepare the groundwork of spiritual atmosphere for the people in general by Sankirtan movement, as it is recommended in the scriptures and as propounded by the father of the Sankirtan movement, Lord Chaitanya. K, to undertake civic enterprises which do not come in conflict with the ideals and missions of the League, with all the principles in view. L, to arrange lectures and discourses by eminent devotees for the benefit of the members of the League, and send missionary for this purpose in all parts of the world to recruit members of the League. M, to open free mail services to advise by post in respect of inquiries made to the League on spiritual subjects. N, to make the League an international organization for spiritual development through education and culture, also by recruiting members of the League from all nationalities. O, to revoke the quality of goodness, particularly Sattva-gun, in every member of the League individually by the process of spiritual initiation, Diksha, by establishing him in the status of a qualified Brahmin, good and intellectual man, on the basis of truthfulness, forgiveness, equality, tolerance, education, purity, knowledge, specific and general, and faith in the transcendental service of Godhead. P, to accept membership of all orders of life, namely, 1. Brahmachari, that is unmarried scholars fully devoted to the service of Godhead. 2. Grihastas, that is married householders living with family and devoted to the service of Godhead. 3. Vanaprasthas, that is retired householders not living with family but devoted to the service of Godhead. And 4. And sannyasis or tyagis, that is retired householders fully renounced to the service of Godhead without any family attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Q, to initiate members in the rules of the Goswamis above mentioned by controlling over illegitimate connections with women, intoxicating habit, diets regulated with vegetable dishes, gambling, unnecessary sporting or recreation enterprises. So the 4 regulated principles.
Yes.
The League of Devotees invites every individual member of the human society to become a constituent member of the society and learn thereof the spiritual techniques in perfect order. The Bhagavad Gita is recognized all over the world. This great book of knowledge is the basis of spiritual techniques. The League of Devotees requests all people of the world to make a sincere study of this book of knowledge without malified interpretations and learn from it about our divine relation with the personality of Godhead. God is great is known to all, but he is so great that it is impossible for the tiny brain of the living being to have a clear conception of Godhead as he is. Therefore, to attempt to know God and his huge affairs of diverse energy by dint of our own knowledge acquired by imperfect senses of limited potency is always a futile attempt. If we want to know God and our eternal divine relationship with him, we must know it from Godhead himself, as he reveals himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Let us not misunderstand this great book of spiritual significance by our imperfect empiric knowledge, but let us learn it from him alone, or from his devotee, recognized by him. The League of Devotees will give all help to you by personal touch, by literature, by instruction, and by correspondence. Do not leave the opportunity. Make your life perfect by contacting our relation. So far payment is concerned, it is immaterial. If you are unable to pay the membership fees, still the League of Devotees will not deny its utmost services unto you, because the League of Devotees is pledged to serve the supreme will of Godhead, and by faith it stands to serve you, at least for bringing you nearer to Godhead. But if you're able to pay, do not try to avoid the membership fee. Every pi paid to this institution is engaged in transcendental service of Godhead, and it is our duty to engage our life, money, intelligence, and words in the transcendental loving service of Godhead, if we want at all to realize God and thereby to make a perfection of this human form of life. In conclusion, it may be said that the aims and objects of the institution, the League of Devotees, are not man-made ideologies, but they are picked up from the original treasure house of India's spiritual culture attained by the great rishis and acharyas who transcended the conditional stage of existence. And such spiritual experience is recorded in Sanskrit language.
Mm-hmm.
As such, it is now necessary that men of culture all over the world may learn and read Sanskrit language, the mother of all other languages of the Aryan stock. The League of Devotees therefore will maintain a Sanskrit academy and a degree college, specially for the purpose of disseminating the benefit of this great language to all. Scholars from all countries will be welcome to remain as inmate of the institution if they agree to abide by the rules and regulations of the institution. There is scope for admitting free students also by special arrangement. So perhaps you can stop there for today.
Oh, excellent. Absolutely. And for all of our members here, please realize that Prabhupada is delivering a timeless message. In other words, his words then are still relevant today in 2023. And they really set a standard for all of us of how we are going to conduct the Prabhupada Disciples Association. So we'll continue on with this wonderful insight This is insight. We're not blocking Prabhupada's teachings for some kind of material motive, but we're trying to present this so that everybody gets a clear understanding of how we're going to move forward with the expansion of the Prabhupada Disciples Association as the movement that is going to assist humanity in taking up the mission of Krishna consciousness and individually going home back to Godhead at the end of this life. So we'll go forward now with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, the bhajan by Śrīla Prabhupāda before each class, and then we'll have Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu present the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for us here today at the Prabhupada Disciples Association Bhagavatam, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam discussion.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava स्वात्मनं श्रीविद्यारगचार्य सदस्यमान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय
अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय।
जय
रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से
जय
गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री
जय
राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय।
जय
वृंदावन धाम की जय।
जय
नवद्वीप धाम की जय।
जय
तो भक्तवृंद की जय।
जय
माई की जय।
जय
माई की जय। तुलसी
जय
देवी की जय।
जय
भक्ति देवी की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय।
जय
All glories to the assembled Lord.
Hare
All
Krishna
glories to the assembled Lord.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much.
All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1. To the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2. To the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3. To the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4. To Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author. From Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 17. Srinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Yabhadrani Vidunuti Surit Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshu vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktira bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavad class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil. And thus, loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. So welcome everybody to this reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We are reading from the original 1962 New Delhi edition. Today we'll be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text number 9, all synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Dharmasya yapavargasya narto artayo upakalpati nartasya dharmakantasya kamola bhaya hi smrutaha. Dharmasya occupational engagements, he certainly apavargasya, ultimate liberation, not artha, and arthaya, for material gain, upakalpati, is meant for, neither artasya, of material gain, dharma ekantasya, for one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service, kama, sense gratification, labhaya, attainment of, he, exactly, smritaha, is described by the great sages. Translation by His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation, and they are never meant for material gain. Similarly, material gain for one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service is never meant by the sages for attainment of sense gratification. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. We have already discussed it that pure devotional service of the Lord is automatically followed by perfect knowledge and detachment from material existence. But there are others who consider that all kinds of different occupational engagements, including the terms of religiosity, are meant for material gain. General tendency of any ordinary man in any part of the world is to gain some material profit in exchange of religious or any other occupational service. Even in the Vedic literatures for all sorts of religious performances, an allurement of material gain is offered, and most people are attracted by such allurement or blessings of religiosity. Why such so-called men of religiosity are allured by material gain? Because material gain can endow with the blessings of fulfilling desires, which in turn satisfy sense gratification. This cycle of occupational engagements, including so-called religiosity followed by material gain, and material gain followed by fulfillment of desires. Sense gratification is the general way for all sorts of fully occupied men. But in the statement of Sutta Goswami, as per the verdict of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this is nullified by the present shloka. One should not engage himself in any sort of occupational service only for the material gain, nor material gain should be utilized for the matter of sense gratification. How material gain should be utilized is described as follows. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasa narto yasceha karma bihi. Kamasya, of desires, not indriya, senses, priti, satisfaction, labho, gain, jivita, self-preservation, yavata, so much so, jivasya, of the living being, tattva, absolute truth, jignasa, inquiries, not, artha, and, yasceha, whatsoever else, karmabihi, by occupational activities. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Life desires must not be directed toward the matter of sense gratification. One should desire only for a healthy life or self-preservation. because the life of a human being is meant for inquiring about the absolute truth, and nothing more should be desired by all occupational service. Purport by His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda. The complete bewildered material civilization is wrongly directed towards the fulfillment of desires in sense gratification. In such civilization, in all spheres of life, the ultimate end is sense gratification. In politics, social service, altruism, philanthropy, and ultimately in religiosity, or even in the matter of salvation, the very same tint of sense gratification is ever increasingly predominant. In the political field, the leaders of men fight with one another for the matter of fulfilling their personal sense gratification. The voters adore so-called leaders only on the promise of the voters' sense gratification. As soon as the voters are dissatisfied in their own sense satisfaction, they dethrone the leaders, and the leaders almost always disappoint the voters by not satisfying their senses. The same thing is applicable in all other fields, and nobody is serious about the problems of life. Even those who are on the path of salvation desire to become one with the absolute truth and desire to commit a spiritual suicide for the matter of sense gratification. But the Bhagavad says that one should not live for the matter of sense gratification. One should satisfy the senses so much so as it is required for self-preservation and not for sense gratification. Because the body is made of senses which also require a certain extent of satisfaction, there are regulative directions for satisfaction of such senses, but they are not meant for unrestricted sense enjoyment. For example, marriage or combination of a man with a woman is necessary for progeny, but it is not meant for sense enjoyment. In the absence of such voluntary restraint, there is the propaganda for family planning, but the foolish men do not know that family planning is automatically executed as soon as there is search after the absolute truth. Seekers of the absolute truth are never allured by the unnecessary engagements in sense gratification, because the serious student seeking after the absolute truth is always overwhelmed with the work of researching the truth. In every sphere of life, therefore, the ultimate end must be seeking after the absolute truth, and that sort of engagement will make everyone happy on account of being less engaged in the matter of variety of sense gratification. And what is that absolute truth? Is explained as follows. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirdishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadati Visheshatah Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prasantaya Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda, Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupāda, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with a torchlight of transcendental knowledge. These two particular verses are very significant. In 1976, Śrīla Prabhupada was in Agra, close to Vrindavan, where one Indian gentleman, a life member, a fairly wealthy man, had invited Śrīla Prabhupada and the devotees. So he had arranged a very nice speaking situation. Prabhupada was invited, and many dignitaries and important members of the city came there. And Śrīla Prabhupada spoke on these two verses. Śrīla Prabhupada very nicely explained, as it is given here, that simply acting for sense gratification is not beneficial for the ultimate goal of life. In the Katha Upanishad, it is described there are two basic fundamental principles, Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas means immediate gratification of the senses, whereas Shreyas is the ultimate pursuit of spiritual activities for a better result. We see in the Manu Samhita, how Manu has described, Pravrittir chabhutanam nivrittir tu mahafalam. There is a greater result that is achieved by nivritti, or restricting the sense enjoyment tendency, as opposed to pravritti, the simply unrestricted sense enjoyment. The tendency for meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and all sorts of vices is the natural tendency in the material world. That is the natural tendency. But nivrittir to mahafalam. Mahafalam means a greater result. A better result is obtained by nivritti, by control. And this is what Prabhupada is trying to explain here. We see in text number 10, Prabhupada explains about the politics. In politics, we're reading from the first paragraph of text number 10 in the purport. Śrīla Prabhupada explained, in politics, social service, altruism, philanthropy, and ultimately in religiosity, or even in the matter of salvation, the very same tinct of sense gratification is ever increasingly predominant. In the political field, the leaders of men fight with one another for the matter of fulfilling their personal sense gratification. The voters adore the so-called leaders only on the promise of the voters' sense gratification. As soon as the voters are dissatisfied in their own sense satisfaction, they dethrone the leaders, and the leaders almost always disappoint the voters by not satisfying their senses. The same thing is applicable in all other fields, and nobody is serious about the problems of life. Now, this is quite significant. Everybody knows in every country around the world, there are elections. In many places, they don't have elections. They have dictators or dynasties or kings. But in democratic countries, they have elections. And we know, especially in North America, both Canada and the United States, there's a lot of promises that are being made. Oh, we will not increase taxes. We will promise free service here, free service there. They get elected, and guess what happens? Promises are broken. and the voters are not happy. Next election, many times the Prabhupada says they will dethrone the leaders. Why? Because the principle is sense gratification. This is not the pursuit of spiritual advancement. This is the pursuit of sense gratification. We see in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are so many descriptions, the lives of great devotees, the life of very important personalities, cautioning, giving some warnings. Do not engage like the animals. Do not engage like the animals. Do not conduct your life solely for the pursuit of sense satisfaction. Prabhupada used to often give the example of Dhruva Maharaj, who was very upset because he had been disrespected by his stepmother. So he went to practice severe austerities in the forest, very severe austerities. So the issue was he wanted to gain the kingdom. He wanted to regain for his own self-satisfaction what he had lost. And Śrīla Prabhupada described that after all of his austerities, when Lord Vishnu came before him, he said, Swamin kritartosmin varam nayache. I do no longer want anything else now that I've obtained you. And this is the greatest gift, the greatest present that has been given by the great acharyas, such as Śrīla Prabhupada. That gift of the devotional service, the path of bhakti. We see in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion, how Rupa Goswami has defined the advantage and the potency of bhakti. That even if one engages in pious activities for millions of births, still he may not be able to get this bhakti. Then the question comes, well, how do you get this bhakti? He described, Tatra laulyam api mulyamikalam. Mulyam means the price. What is that price? Laulyam, the intense desire to achieve that bhakti. That greed, not for sense satisfaction, not for sense gratification, but that greed to achieve the mercy of Krishna. Tatalolyam apimulyam ekala. That is the only price to achieve the bhakti. Janma koti kritera pilanalbyate. That even if one engages in so many sukritis or pious activities for millions of births, he may not be able to get that bhakti. So that bhakti is given by the Shuddha Bhakt, by the pure devotee, by the completely liberated, fully realized, topmost Mahabhagavat pure devotee, like Śrīla Prabhupada. That's why Śrīla Prabhupada put so much emphasis in his books. He knew that after his departure, there would be disturbances. Anybody who has read the 4th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will know Prabhupada has predicted that after the Acharya departs, all kinds of rogues, non-devotees, yogis, swamis, welfare workers, philanthropists start to introduce non-authorized principles. This is not very difficult to understand. We have seen this. It's still being seen. The Acharya comes to establish the bona fide process of bhakti, the bona fide process of religion, the proper understanding of what is bona fide religion. This is the position, the exalted position of Śrīla Prabhupada. Besides his books, what he has done is practically shown how to practice the knowledge, the transcendental gifts in his books, the chanting of Hare Krishna, the offering of bhoga to the deities, the kirtan, the worship of Tulsi Devi, the Guru Puja, engagement in distributing transcendental literatures, so many activities that were introduced by the Acharya. And the faithful disciples should not deviate from the standard established by the Acharya. This is important. We see in the Mahabharata, we have often discussed this, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam, that the truth of dharma or religion is not easy to understand. Nihitam guhayam, it is hidden, it's like a secret. Well, how do you understand it? Mahajano yena gatasa pantaha. One has to follow in the path of great Mahajans. Now, we have read last week, Vishwakarma Prabhu was reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada's purport explaining different kinds of Mahajans. According to people's situations, according to their desires, they consider different personalities as Mahajans. So what we have now is one has to establish who are the real Mahajans, who are the great personalities in the disciplic succession. Just yesterday, I saw a discussion by some devotees. Somebody was trying to explain how it's common for gurus to fall down. And I said, no. They asked what my view was on this. I've not used the word opinion, but what my perspective. I said, Śrīla Prabhupāda explains that the great acharyas and the pure devotees never come in contact with this material world. Even though they come here, the Nitya Siddha, the eternally liberated devotees, they come to this material world, but they're not attracted. They're not affected by the influence of the material energy. Śrīla Prabhupada explained in one letter that my whole life, I never forgot Krishna. What one of the characteristics of these great personalities, these Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated souls, is they never forget Krishna, ever. Śrīla Prabhupada said that although I had plenty of opportunity to engage in sinful life, I never forgot Krishna, never broke the principles. This is the exalted position of a pure devotee. I've often described the story how some sannyasis went in Prabhupada's room in Calcutta, and they asked Śrīla Prabhupada what the spiritual master, when he closes his eyes, what does he see? Prabhupada rebuked that devotee and says, that question you do not need to ask. He said, but Śrīla Prabhupada, the pure devotee, when he closes his eyes, what does he see? Prabhupada says, yes, that is a good question. The pure devotee, when he closes his eyes, he sees the pastimes of Radha Krishna in his heart 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. This is a very exalted position. Śrīla Prabhupada had one disciple in Los Angeles, one lady named Ujjvala. Ujjvala was a very nice devotee, engaged in very nice service. When she was initiated, she asked Śrīla Prabhupada after her initiation, what does that name mean, Ujjvala? Prabhupada described, this is described by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This Ujjvala means the most elevated stage of love of Godhead. And then Prabhupada told her, if you follow these 4 principles, chant 16 rounds without offense, in this life, you will achieve that, guaranteed. Now, sometimes people protest that, well, this is too simple. A person has to learn certain techniques and certain mental positions and things like that. Prabhupada said, no, just follow that. Just follow that. It is not complicated. It is not difficult to understand. There's no big secret. Prabhupada never set up a toll gate between himself and any followers or students or disciples. Anybody can accept Śrīla Prabhupada. anybody can accept. The point is, Prabhupada, the question was asked of Śrīla Prabhupada, how long does it take to be Krishna conscious? How difficult is this? Prabhupada said, if you're serious, you can do it in a moment. Or else it can also take millions of years, millions of births. This is the same point that was raised by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Janma koti sukrite rapi nalabhyate. Nalabhyate means you cannot achieve, even after millions of births of performing pious activities, giving in charity, meditation, yoga, all kinds of activities, of pious activities, digging wells, arranging to give charity. Now, of course, there is some benefit to these activities. We do not condemn these activities, but bhakti is different. That bhakti, that laulyam, that intense desire, that is given by the mercy of a pure devotee. We sing every day when we do Guru Puja, Janme Janme Prabhu se, Divyajnam Hriday Prakashito, that birth after birth, I wish to become your servant. Birth after birth. This is the desire of a real devotee. We see here Prabhupada is explaining the problem with seeking this sense gratification. Anybody knows, just like we have different persons here, different devotees from many parts of the world, and I'm sure anywhere you are, there's all kinds of propaganda in the newspapers, radio, television, internet, billboards, everywhere. There's propaganda. If you get this product, you'll be happy. For women, if you get this dress, if you get this makeup, you'll be happy. For men, if you get this shirt, this clothing, if you get this sense gratification, this will be happy. But people find out, despite all the hankering for sense gratification, they're not happy. Then there's the other side. There is lamentation. Sochati. Kankshati means to hanker. Sochati means to lament. After their sense gratification is not happy, they lament. Prabhupada has explained this in that purport in the political field. We see this with so many people. They will vote a leader, then they're not happy with a leader because their promises or sense gratification not happy. They want to kick out the leader. It's like a cycle, constant cycle, bhoga tyag. They want to enjoy, then it's, oh, now I want to renounce that enjoyment. That is why one should be situated, should learn how to become situated in that Brahmabhuta platform. Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasochati nakankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labati param. In order to achieve that bhakti, one has to be situated. One has to do away with all these false designations in the material world. Sometime back, one lady, one devotee, she sent me an email. Oh, Prabhupada seemed to have made so many statements about women, about this group, about that group, about different races. I said, yes. The problem is, the first point you have to understand, you're not a woman. You're not a man. You're an eternal spirit soul. That woman designation now is temporary. How do you know what you were in your last life? How do you know what you will be in your next life? You may not be a woman in your next life. You may be a demigod. You may be a man. You may be an animal. You may be an insect. Or you may get liberated, go back to Goloka or Vaikuntha. How do you know? Why do you think you're a woman? Why do you think you're American, Canadian, Polish, German, Russian, Ukrainian? These are all designations. How? Because of Maya, illusion. Sarva upadi vinirmuktam. The beginning of bhakti is to become liberated from these designations. That is the solution. Just like if you have eye problem, if you have cataract problem, they will do operation. Then they will give you some ointment you put in the eye. You have, before they do the operation, they will put some ointment in the eye. After the operation, they'll give you these little bottles with some medication. Or Ram Raghava Prabhu is physician. Dr. Puja also is physician. They know this. They give some special medication to the eye to bring the eye to the proper condition. So that medication, which is given by the Acharya, that is the process of bhakti. Just like we recite Ajnana Timira Andasya, the darkness of ignorance, Jnana Anjana Shalakaya, Chakshurun Militam, the eyes are, the disease of the eye is cured by the Acharya, by giving that special ointment, that bhakti ointment, by this process. So I'll shut up for now and we'll let people give proper comments, and I'm eager to hear what Narasimha Prabhu and other Prabhus have to say. Of course, we have Balaram Prabhu with all his wonderful questions coming up. But for now, Vishwakarma Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for a wonderful lecture on the current verses that we're reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And yes, we do have a wonderful group of Prabhupada disciples here who are interested in asking questions and giving comments on our philosophy of Krishna consciousness. I wanted to go back again to your reference to the reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita on the position of Mahajan, because there are so many people that are claiming to be leaders, especially in the material world, and without spiritual qualification, this leadership role is simply hallucination. It's not real, just like the material world. It's Maya means that which is not. It appears to be real, but in fact, it is temporary. That temporary nature is the rule of truth that governs everyone's life. Prabhu, Vinkat Prabhu, this is Madhya Lila, chapter 17, text 185, and we're on page, by the original book, page 182, 102. If you could get that for us. I'm going to go through a couple of important points here before we move into the, let's see here. Devotees. Yes, there we are. So page 102, is that on your book the same?
I'm looking on a website. There's no page numbers.
Oh, okay.
Let me know the verse number.
Well, that's the correct verse. A devotee's behavior establishes the true principles of religious principles. The behavior of Madhavendra Puri Goswami is the essence of such religious principles. So moving on in the purport, about 3 paragraphs forward, Prabhupada is referring here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the personality of Godhead. Rather, they accept godless cheaters who present themselves as incarnations of God and cheat foolish people within the material world by word jugglery. Thus many rascals are accepted as Mahajans. There it is there. Thank you. So here we see that not only in the spiritual society that Prabhupada set up, but also the material society, there are many rascals that use word jugglery to be accepted as Mahajans. Very, very clear. In this material world, I'll keep reading down there, a person may be a very famous Kamavira, a successful fruitive worker, or one may be very successful performing religious duties, or be known as a hero in mental speculation. Jnanavira, or he may be a very famous renunciant. In any case, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3:23-56 gives the following opinion in this matter. Neha yat karma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate na tirthapada sevayai jivan api mritohi sa. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead to devotional service of the personality of Godhead must be considered dead, although he is breathing. So here, this use of word jugglery by so-called people to become Mahajan is very sinister. In conclusion, all pious activity, fruitive activity, religious principles, and renunciation must ultimately lead to devotional service. There are different types of processing for rendering service. One may serve his country, people, society, the varnashram dharma, the sick, the poor, the rich, women, demigods, and so on. All this comes under the heading of sense gratification or enjoyment in the material world. It is most unfortunate that people are more or less attracted by such material activity, and that the leaders of these activities are accepted as Mahajans, great leaders, great ideal leaders. Actually, they are only misleaders, but an ordinary man cannot understand how he is being misled. So we'll go back to this purport, and explanation of great men is very detailed and extremely informative for everyone to study and understand. I was watching some of Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis yesterday because I have some interest in that. I'm not studying it. I'm just studying how they carry on, how they present themselves, what they're claiming. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. That was Donald Trump's speech in Texas. I. Not Krishna. There is no Krishna consciousness in their speeches. So it's devoid of any real potency. That's the point. Without Krishna, there is nothing. It's simply an illusion. It is a motion of the false ego. So they're representing themselves as great leaders, but a leader that does not base their understanding on the purpose of human life, which is to become Krishna conscious, is leading the blind leading the blind. And these people, all of these people, progressively will just end up dying and being reborn according to their karma. This is the mistake of the modern society. It's a dead-end street. And so we'll move forward now. We've got some questions here that have been written out. Vinkat Prabhu, could you maybe target in on some of them so that we can begin some answers here? And then any questions that you have, you may, if you see the reactions there on your screen, you can put your hand up using that button there, and then we'll also follow along. So Vinkat, please, let's start with the written questions.
Sure. So Balaram Prabhu had a comment, I think that was for the initial reading. Dear Prabhupada disciples, there are words used sometimes which imply that Prabhupada moved from a conditioned state to non-conditioned state, like Prabhupada's realizations. I don't feel good with such words. Can we use words which show he does not move from non-realized to realized? Like he's always liberated. So I guess that's
who's saying that? I didn't quite follow that. That was an interpretation that he is. Who
Yeah,
said
maybe
that?
it's perception.
That's
Okay.
his perception that he's moving from all of the transcendental messages from Śrīla Prabhupada are not moving on the material platform. They're moving on the transcendental platform. He's explaining them to us so that we can understand how it operates. Yaśodā, could you please comment?
Well, it's Prabhupada explains in a Nectar of Devotion there are 3 stages. One is called Nitya Siddha, one is called Sadhana Siddha, and one is called Kripa Siddha. One is eternally liberated soul. One becomes liberated by sadhana, by proper practice of devotional service and by the mercy of the Guru, the Acharya. And one is called Kripa Siddha, that even though one may not have followed all the rules and regulations of devotional service, if he gets special kripa or mercy or dispensation from the Acharya, sometimes he can also become liberated. So, but in the case of Nitya Siddha, this is a very important philosophical point. I invite everybody on this call. There is on our website at KrishnaConsciousnessMovement.com. There is a little booklet that has been compiled and edited by Narasimha Prabhu. And this was a booklet called, one is called the Guru, Our Living Guru. And there's another one called the Prabhupada Siddhanta. The Prabhupada Siddhanta explains this point very nicely with quotes directly from His Divine Grace himself. What is a liberated soul? What is an eternal liberated soul? And how to become a liberated soul. So I invite everybody to go to the website, Krishna, Krishna, Consciousness Movement, all one word, .com. And you look on the right side and you will see there, that little booklet will be there called Prabhupada Siddhanta. Now, here we go. This booklet was compiled over a period of maybe a year to a year and a half, 2 years. I mean, over 100 devotees contributed to this book. The final edited was done by Narasimha Prabhu, who is on this call. And at this point, I'd like to invite Narasimha Prabhu to make comments or share some of his realization on this topic. Hare Krishna, Narasimha Prabhu. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for the classes and the comments. Really appreciate it. This is the best way to spread Krishna consciousness at this point, using the internet as long as we have it. As far as anyone wants a physical copy of this book, I can send it to. It's a great book for distribution, and it really answers all the, that's the back. It answers all the questions and points that come up, and in a very positive way. We don't, in this book, we don't directly try to raise controversy or discuss what all the misconceptions that the GBC has and the GBC devotees have, but by positively just presenting the basic principles of Krishna consciousness, all these doubts and confusion are automatically answered. The book is in 3 parts. The first part is called Basic. There's an introduction also. And then the first part is called Basic Convictions of the Krishna Consciousness Movement. I don't know if you can see that.
Not really. Your lighting is poor. Your lighting is poor. So carry on, though.
So this part, the first part was actually written by Śrīla Prabhupāda, describing the basic principles of ISKCON when it was first established. The second part is called Philosophical Conclusions of the Krishna Consciousness Movement, or Siddhanta. And then the last part is Practices, Authorized Principles of Spiritual Practice, or sadhana. So it's all there, and it's a nice little 64-page book that's easy to distribute and easy for devotees to reference. I wanted to ask about the 12 Mahajanas. If anyone can recite the 12 Mahajanas, and whether these Mahajanas, some of them are very old, like Brahma is one of the 12 Mahajanas, Lord Shiva, are they changed from age to age, or are these 12 Mahajanas eternally the ultimate authorities in Krishna consciousness? So it's Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Sukadev Goswami, and help me out.
Bhishma, Bali.
Krishna, Bali,
Janaka, Yamaraj.
Janaka, Yamaraj. Yeah. So is that it? Is that all? It's interesting that these Mahajanas are all saying the same thing over a period of thousands of years, whereas in ISKCON, they want to change the authority immediately after Śrīla Prabhupada left. So the situation in ISKCON is pretty severe at this point. So many offenses are being made, and devotees really don't know where to turn for proper authority in Krishna consciousness, other than Prabhupada's books. And it's best to understand Prabhupada's books in class settings and discussion groups like we're having here. Otherwise, people misinterpret Śrīla Prabhupada's teachings. And it's actually very surprising. One scholar recently wrote a book on Krishna consciousness. He also has his own interpretations of Bhagavad Gita based on his own understanding. And he's trying to, he wrote a 40-page essay trying to explain why some of the words and teachings, or at least some of the comments of the Acharya, may not be absolute. They may be relative, they may be based on his background or his conditioning. To me, this is an attempt to bring the position of the Acharya down to the mundane platform to justify their election of gurus and promoting people who are non-realized souls. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Ham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshaya Shami Masuja. He's telling everyone to give up Dharma. So apparently this instruction of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna is meant particularly for those who are not sinful, but not rascal, but they're actually following some Dharma, some Vedic system of elevation. Sarva Dharma Parityāja. So give up all Dharma and just surrender to me. So what is the difference, I'd like to pose this question, between Dharma, sinful activity, and actual Krishna consciousness? So Prabhupada describes these sometimes as karma, vikarma, and nishkarma. What is nishkarma? Nishkarma is no karma. Akarma means akama sarva karma va mokshaya shami masuja. So akarma means no karma, nishkarma. Karma means dharma. We generally refer to materialists or non-devotees as karmis, but actual karmis are those who follow karma kanda process for gradual elevation in this life and in the next life. Generally, the goal is the heavenly planets. So in Vedic society, old Vedic society, everyone was following dharma. There was at least the upper echelons of society were all following some type of dharma. And some of these dharmas would conflict with each other. So Vedic kings would sometimes fight among themselves. This is how the British were able to overtake India, because India was a conglomerate not very unified, of different kings, and they're all following some type of dharma, either worship of Shiva, Durga, or other karma kanda processes for gradual elevation. But in Kali Yuga, these processes cannot be followed strictly. In fact, if you follow them in the wrong way, you get an opposite result. So that is the dharma. Krishna is saying, give it up. Adharma means sinful life, activities which are completely prohibited in the Vedic Shastra. So in the Kali Yuga, the only hope, the only solution for the mass of people is Krishna consciousness. It is nishkarma. It has no karma, no reaction. And the principle of Krishna consciousness is bhakti, or love, or devotion. So with just a little devotion, a little love, one can make advancement on this path, even though he may not be able to follow all the strict rules and regulations of the Vedic Shastras. So the Mahajanas, they all teach the nishkarma, the activities that can liberate us from conditional life of birth and death.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Very insightful for all of us. We're moving forward here. We're coming closer to the end of the session. Vinkat, does Balaram have his hand up? Balaram, do you have a specific question you wanted to ask from the group?
If I may, Prabhuji,
Please,
just
by
a
all
quick
means.
clarification on my first question, actually.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you all, actually, as far as an English word, actually, I was trying to find a better English, because when I say myself, when others say to me, Prabhupada's realizations, it gives me the idea that, well, if the word realization means moving from a state of not knowing to realizing something or knowing, but Prabhupada is always in that knowing state. It's his relationship. So is there a better word that we can use instead of saying Prabhupada's realizations? Is there a better word?
It really is Prabhupada's teachings. That's what we're following. He has realizations, obviously, but it's his teachings that we're referring to when we explain Prabhupada to others, not his realizations. It's interesting to note, Prabhu, with yourself, that you're very forensic with the meaning of words. It's not a criticism. It's just an analysis that I'm making, that you're very forensic in the meanings of each word, and it's that's just it. It's you're looking very deeply into the philosophy of the words, the construction of them.
In Prabhupada's times, did we use this? Did we say, like, these are Prabhupada's realizations? Or is there literature where it's said that these are Prabhupada's realizations?
I don't recall that type of term. Someone may have used it to describe Prabhupada's understanding or his teachings, but as far as Prabhupada saying, these are my realizations, I never heard Prabhupada speak that way.
So let me ask you this then quickly. If I don't want to say these are Prabhupada's realizations, what would be the next best word? These are Prabhupada's, I want to say these are Prabhupada's facts. That's the word I want to use, facts, but it doesn't come across kind of correctly. But.
It's Prabhupada is teaching us. That's what Siksha means. You're a teacher.
Maybe that's the word I should use now. Prabhupada's teachings.
Yeah, he's teaching us this, that, all these different details. This is the business of the Mahajan, the great soul, is to guide people, how to act. Like, for example, as we were talking about these government leaders, they're trying to lead people and give good example, but they have no depth. You have to have some depth of realization. Vinkat, sorry about that. We'll move forward here. I see some other questions came up. What else has been on the chat board here?
There's a comment by Bal Ganesh Prabhu in Leelamrita, Volume 6, Preaching to America, Part 1.
Which book is that?
This is Śrīla Prabhupada, Leelamrita. I think it's written by Satswarup.
Okay, just wanted to qualify that for everyone. Go ahead, please. What did he say?
So Dr. Hopkins is asking, if someone was going to collect a very small section of your work, say 1 or 2 verses, what would they collect? And Śrīla Prabhupada replied, this is stated in 2 verses, Dharmasya Hyapa Vargasya. I think these are the verses we covered today, 1 to 9 and 1 to 10 of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
Okay.
Then,
so is there a question?
Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu.
Go ahead, Yaśoda, please.
This is a very important, interesting point you're raising, because at different times, Śrīla Prabhupada has made statements. For example, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Śrīla Prabhupada said there's a verse from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. It's called Evam Bharatasva Priya Nama Kirtya, that this is the most important verse in the Bhagavatam, how people who are under the influence of love of Godhead chant, dance, or in ecstasy like that. Another time, one of the leaders in the movement asked Śrīla Prabhupada, of everything you have taught, what is the most important verse? And Prabhupada replied, that verse from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Yasya Deve Parabhaktir Yata Deve Tata Gurau Tasyaite Katita Yartaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. For those who have firm faith in Krishna and the spiritual master, all the meanings and the imports of the Vedic literatures are revealed. If you look, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, one place Prabhupada said the 4 more important verses in the Bhagavad Gita start with the verse in the chapter 10, text number 8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. So there's different times and different places where Śrīla Prabhupada has given different explanations, but that explanation that has been given in that book is interesting, but there's a lot of different aspects to this.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to further elaborate on the point of the use of the internet as a means for propagating Krishna consciousness, and how many groups are doing that. Not only from the Vaishnava community, but in all different communities. It can become somewhat a cesspool of confusion, lots of confusion. So the devotees should be very, very careful who they're listening to. There's lots of opinions, lots of mental speculation that's going on. And we want to reassure people. And again, I want to recommend that you invite your friends, invite the serious seekers to join our group, the Prabhupada Disciples Association, which has been guided by Krishna and Prabhupada to become a reality now in front of us all. This is reality. I'll pass it to Yaśoda in a minute, but the fact of the matter is, when you go and start something, things become, you go through a lot of trial and error. It doesn't just happen overnight. And sometimes things start to come together in a positive way. And this is also, in this situation, what we have is called momentum. This momentum is coming. Now, I thought that Prabhu Nrsimha made a good comment when he was saying, yes, it may go away. Like, for example, there may be no guarantee that this internet facility may go on. It's possible. But for now, for all practical purposes, the people that are assembled before us and the facilities that we've created and that we're using for spreading Krishna consciousness is gradually expanding. And as a result, we can all enjoy what we're doing right now and participate as much as possible in helping it to grow. This is a dynamic process for development. Right now, we're at a very small stage, very limited stage of development. But nonetheless, we're still at a stage of moving forward. And this is something that we should all appreciate as Vaishnavas, that this association and these facilities, by the help of a lot of different people, is in front of us. And now let's take advantage of it. Nrsimha, you have your hand up. Please.
Yes, I was going to ask how these classes, they're put on YouTube, and if we can send links to different people with the classes. I get these classes from other devotees sometimes that has a link, and it's in the email, and all you have to do is press a button and immediately you go to the class. And then we can start sending those out to other people, and then many people can start tuning into the live classes. Also wanted to announce again about this Śrīla Prabhupada Siddhanta book. If devotees email me their address, I can send free of charge, 10, 15.
What is your email address, Prabhu?
20 of these books.
What is your email?
I have it in your email. I send you emails all the time. It's Parvatana Shringa.
No, it's not. I'm talking about our group. We have a large group here, so we wanted to announce.
I think we'll send out an email, or we'll set up some kind of system for people who are interested. They can get this book. So rather than them individually emailing Nrsimha Prabhu, we can do something in the system.
Okay.
So they should be in touch with the association then, eh?
Yeah.
Give the information here.
Any possibility of getting it offline too, physical copy?
Yeah.
It'll be sent to you. Just be in touch with Vinkat Prabhu, and then he'll coordinate the distribution. As far as the distribution of the information about our classes and that, we do have a media team that meets on once a week, and we discuss different ways and means. It's really an ocean of activity on the internet. So there's lots of things we can do.
Also, I wanted to mention, I've started a group called Mayapur Group. It's a Google's group. It's called Mayapur Group Forum, and another one called Vrindavan Group Forum. So we can start using those if we want for discussion.
Absolutely. No, we should bring them all together. No, you're absolutely right, brother. And
I wanted to focus in these forums, particularly on the situation in the Holy Dham, particularly Mayapur. Vrindavan is a little more open, but Mayapur is a very closed community. Those devotees, literally, I don't know how many devotees are there now, but they're literally hostage to the criminals that run Mayapur.
Wow.
So I want to start that discussion. Also, there's a lot of crazy things going on in Vrindavan due to no leadership, no real control. So the Vrindavan Forum, but those two forums could be the same. They could be ultimately the Mayapur Vrindavan Forum. But at the moment, I've got these two names.
Is that an existing forum already, the Mayapur Forum that we were invited to participate in? Or is it a different one?
This forum was called Mayapur Open Forum, but he changed the name to Vaishnava Open Forum because it was under pressure that a lot of Mayapur devotees were going to his forum thinking it was the Mayapur Community Forum. So a person like that cannot possibly be in control or in charge of a forum that discusses Mayapur. If he's living in Mayapur, or especially if he's living in the ashram, it simply won't work. But I have no interest in visiting. Well, I have interest, but I don't see the possibility of visiting India in the future. So I'm not really afraid of these people.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's wonderful. I see that Dr. Pooja has a question. Yaśoda, 1 second. We'll just let her ask her question, please. Whereabouts are you, Dr. Pooja, by the way? What part of India?
I'm saying, Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. I'm
Haribol.
staying in Madhya Pradesh, in a Gaudiya.
Where is it?
You can say it's nearby Delhi.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, go ahead with your question.
So my question is this, for example, in some youth devotees ask
You'll have
me,
to speak closely into the microphone, Mata, please.
hello,
Clearly and slowly.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
my question is this, that if somebody is very new, for example, somebody asks to us about the Krishna consciousness, what is the process and what we have to do, what is the reality Krishna consciousness, for example, then if we are saying to someone, go to ISKCON, or because I don't know anything to say, then if somebody is asked to me, I say I'm from ISKCON. And for example, if somebody is very innocent and they are going to ISKCON and there they don't know what is the reality of Guru system and what is the Ritvik system, and like this, they are trapped if we are telling to them. Other than ISKCON, what should we say to them?
Oh, okay. Very, very. I'll give an answer, and Yaśoda, you can speak too. Sorry. Mataji, this is what you should do. Tell them to come to the classes if they're able to, or go to the YouTube channel and watch the classes. They can also, you can direct them to Prabhupada's lectures online. This is an educational program, and whatever they're doing, this is a weekly diet of information. We have a 3-day program right now, which is Sunday and Wednesday and Saturday, as you know. So if you can't attend by time zone restriction, then you can just come to the classes to get association. If you want to be in touch with us, there are different persons in the group that you can reach out to, and we'll be posting a slide next week of all the contact information for you of different devotees if you want to reach them personally within our group, because we're all on the same page. We all have the same purpose, the same focus, and intent. There is no one here interested in being in charge of the mission or being the guru or collecting money. Our main purpose is sharing knowledge and information to all of the members and helping them develop their Krishna consciousness. So just direct them towards us. And as we continue to expand, we're going to be publishing in the future books, the original books of Śrīla Prabhupāda. So people will be able to get them and they can study them, because there's only so much time in the week that you have, but there'll be a lot of time for you to be able to fill it up with Krishna conscious activity. Yaśoda, yes, Prabhu.
I believe Narasimha Prabhu raised his hand. I believe he has a good answer to that question. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Well, the question about how to answer. Oh, I think Vishwakarma's answer is very good, but I think we should have a central website that we can direct people to, where all the classes of Prabhupada, at least some of them, he's got thousands, but at least a good portion of Prabhupada's classes are easily available. I know other websites provide that service, but I don't know how clear or how.
Okay, let me answer that. Yeah, let me answer that. We have a large agenda, Prabhu, that you'll be able to review with us at the media meeting. And, for months right now, we've been working on developing it. And within it, Prabhupada TV will include a scheduling of japa, of classes, all of what you're saying and more is going to be coming in the future in our plans. But the one problem that we do have is we have a limited group of people that are qualified to work on this. So as a result,
you can hire professionals in India for a reasonable price, and I can contribute to that also.
Well, thank you.
We can't do everything, but there are professionals. I know Venkat's very good with computers, but when it comes to website design or organization, professionals really get the job done. They're worth the price.
Well, thank you very much.
Especially in
I
India.
appreciate that.
India,
we will discuss it at our. Let's do this. We'll discuss it at the media meeting and move forward. And I'll also discuss it with Venkat how we can expand what we're doing.
Those people,
Yeah, we're up to that. Venkat, what are the next questions here from our chat?
Okay.
Please.
There was a question by Balram Prabhu.
Oh, okay.
Prabhupada says this about all his disciples.
Mm-hmm.
This is from a letter to, I think, Tushra Krishna. Others, they are also pure devotees. All of my disciples are pure devotees. Anyone sincerely serving the spiritual master is a pure devotee. So the question is, can you please elaborate what is this pure devotee Prabhupada is calling us, and the pure devotee he is, and why is Prabhupada calling us pure devotees? What is he trying to do?
I like that question. Thank you very much, Balaram. I think it's a very interesting question to ask us. Prabhupada, I'll just give a brief answer and then we can move with other answers. Prabhupada was always encouraging all of us to follow the process. And he's using that expression to encourage everyone to become pure devotees, to take up the process of Krishna consciousness. And he's looking upon us in a very positive light. Prabhupada was always encouraging his disciples, always encouraging them. He's quite aware of the fact that we're all struggling to become pure devotees. So it's not, like literally you could say, oh, well, I'm a pure devotee. Well, there's a lot more to being a pure devotee than Prabhupada saying, oh, all my pure devotees. There's qualifications for a person to become advanced in Krishna consciousness, and that is up to the effort of each individual devotee here in this group to become pure, to become focused, to become surrendered. Yes, Yaśodā.
I think it's important to remember that throughout Prabhupada's teachings in his various books, lectures, conversations, the word pure devotee and pure devotees in plural is used many times. For example, early on in the movement, when a devotee is asked Śrīla Prabhupada on a walk whether there were other pure devotees besides himself, Prabhupada said, well, how many devotees are in the movement? This I believe, was around 1969, and somebody said something around 250, 275. Prabhupada said, they're all pure devotees. Now, if you look in Chaitanya Charitamrita, like we read last week, there is a purport where Prabhupada said the pure devotee, the Acharya, the Paramahamsa Thakur is personally embracing Krishna. Well, that's one level of pure devotee. It's not that it's all one big Mayavadi interpretation. In other words, a person has to understand anybody who is purely engaged in the process of pure devotional service under the instruction of the spiritual master has been characterized by Śrīla Prabhupada as a pure devotee. But if, as one understands more the entire process of devotional service, the entire process of bhakti, one understands it is not so cheap to reach the stage of unalloyed, completely pure, fully liberated Paramahamsa pure devotion. that is not so cheap. I mean, we know from the history of our movement that in 1978, certain individuals trying to propagate this idea that they were liberated souls, pure devotees, and all of this stuff. And then a couple of years later, they never straightened out the philosophy, but the understanding was defective. In other words, a person has to be very careful. Let me give you an example. There was a conversation in the Prabhupada Conversation book where a devotee is telling Prabhupada, oh, we're transcendental. Prabhupada said, no, you are not transcendental. You are trying to become transcendental. In other words, in the process of sadhana bhakti, devotees should never think, I'm liberated, I'm a pure devotee, I'm a paramamsa. There's another lecture where Prabhupada tells the devotees, don't try to be a better paramamsa than your Guru Maharaj. Attend the classes, do the chanting. Prabhupada said, I'm even attending the classes also. So Prabhupada has given a lot of warnings for devotees, this sahaja tendency to think, I'm liberated, I'm a pure devotee, I can do whatever I want. This kind of thinking is not helpful for progressing in pure devotional service. There is a lot of references. For example, if you do the research on any, of these search sites, the word pure devotee and pure devotees, you're going to find a lot of references. Prabhupada does say, yeah, the devotees in the movement of pure devotee, and look at the description in the Nectar of Devotion and the Bhagavatam about what is really a pure devotee, a Mahajan, a Paramamsa. There's a lot of information there to absorb so that one can very soberly evaluate the topic. I hope it helps. Narsingha Prabhu's got his hands up. He knows about this topic.
Well, I don't particularly know, but yes, Prabhupada said that once a pure devotee, if he's strictly following without personal motive. So that's what ISKCON used to be. To live in ISKCON, you almost had to be a pure devotee from day one. There was no room, there was no time for one's personal ambition or personal motives. You slept on the floor, you lived very austerely, and everything was dedicated to Śrīla Prabhupada without question. So it's been a long time since we've had a temple like that full of devotees who were so devoted and pure in their motives. Of course, Prabhupada, he never made that a requirement, absolute requirement of living in a temple, but the way Prabhupada said it, ISKCON was so perfect that automatically, just by joining, one became a devotee or even a pure devotee in that lowest sense of the term. Back to that quickly, to that question of Nitya Siddhas and Sadhana Siddhas, Prabhupada always presented himself as a Sadhana Siddha most of the time. He also sat on a throne in the temple before the deity, so he obviously showed that he was Paramahansa, who cannot be imitated under any circumstances. But as far as his normal practice and normal way of speaking, he was always quoting the previous authorities. He didn't preach on the basis of his own realization. One devotee wrote a nice book years ago. I'm still looking to see if I can find that. Unfortunately, this devotee left, but he showed so many instances in the Bible where Prabhupada was predicted. One of the predictions was kind of interesting. Jesus Christ said, I have taught you in parables and proverbs, but soon I will send my advocate who will speak only on the authority of the Supreme Lord. He won't speak on his own authority, but he'll speak on the authority of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada presented himself as a sadhana bhakta who was educated by reading the scriptures, and he spoke on the authority of the scriptures and on the authority of the previous acharyas. Although, of course, we all knew he's a Nitya Siddha, and he could speak on his own authority also, his own realization. But I think Prabhupada didn't want devotees to, if they did imitate him, they should be presenting themselves in the way Prabhupada presenting himself as a representative of the parampara.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one thing is important, Balaram, too, is that each devotee should remain humble, in a humble state of mind, and consider himself, like Lord Chaitanya preached to us, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna, lower than the straw in the street, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer respects to all others in every circumstance. So, Prabhupada may have given us some kind of special encouragement, but always remain humble. That's the most important thing. Everyone has to remain humble. What does humble mean? You remain a servant of the servant of the servant of the spiritual master, and you serve the other devotees humbly. A lot of times people, they take the role of pure devotee and they come and they speak, not in our group, but I do study all of the other people that are presenting philosophy, and it's always tainted by their personal ambition or their compromised position or some other material motive that exists. And it reflects in how they speak, what they think, and how they speak. It's represented in that. Jonas Priya in Hawaii, I see that you're on the class. What time is it there, Jonas Priya? Are you still up, or?
It's 3 a.m. there.
Jonas Priya.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Can you share some insight from us? Oh, there you are. It is late.
6 o'clock in the morning almost.
Oh, 6. Okay,
Been
good.
really enjoying the class today. Very glad to meet Shringa or Shringa-nanda.
Shringa-das.
Very interested in his work.
Shringa-das, yeah. Go ahead. Jonas Priya.
Very interested in reading his book.
It's not actually his book. It was compiled by 100 different devotees, I think he said.
Nice.
It's
they participated.
Yeah.
He did the final editing. Narasimha Prabhu did the final editing, and he arranged for the printing of it.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Love it.
Thank
Go
you
ahead,
very
Jonas Priya.
Several devotees contributed to the cost of the printing also.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we were talking about, the question was about, how do we tell somebody's the body, or what is, Prabhupada said, all my devotees are pure devotees. So
yeah,
Prabhupada needed pure devotees at the time. He always needs pure devotees, but especially at that time, he needed this crew of wild, crazy people, educated people, the whole mix. He needed this group of people to get the wheels turning on this Krishna consciousness movement. So he empowered everybody that was willing to be used by Śrīla Prabhupāda. So at that time, yes, we were all pure devotees if we were executing nothing else but what Prabhupada wanted us to do. And we tried, a lot of us tried, some tried harder than other ones, but at that point, we were all pure devotees. Now, when I got my second initiation, Śrīla Prabhupada put a thread on me, and he said, this doesn't make you a Brahmana. This only gives you the opportunity to become one. So Prabhupada gave us the opportunity to be pure devotees. He gave us the example. He showed us what to do practically. Surrender. Forget about I, me, mine. It's Krishna Guru. How to serve the devotee. So at that point, we're pure devotees, but we don't remain pure devotees if we don't keep it up. So that's entirely up to us. So that's my poor understanding of that question. Hare Krishna.
Fantastic, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Very deep realizations from you on Prabhupada's words. My godbrother Yaśodā, please, your hands up.
Okay, I wanted to read on this topic of Nitya Siddha, or eternally liberated soul. Incidentally, there's a paper we recently wrote, the Hare Krishna Society, in affiliation with the Prabhupada Disciples Association. This was edited by, I compiled it, and it was edited by Damagosh Prabhu, and Narasimha was also the final editor. There's a very nice quote in here from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 14-15. Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 14 and 15. Śrīla Prabhupada is explained how the messenger of the Supreme Lord remains untouched by material energy. Quote, the Nitya Baddhas are always conditioned by the external energy, and the Nitya Muktas never come in contact with the external energy. Sometimes an ever-liberated personal associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends into this universe just as the Lord descends. Although working for the liberation of conditioned souls, the messenger of the Supreme Lord remains untouched by the material energy. I don't know if anybody catches on to what Prabhupada is hinting here. He's hinting indirectly to his position of having been dispatched by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna himself to spread the Krishna conscious movement. And he clearly said, the messenger of the Supreme Lord remains untouched by the material energy. This is a very profound purport. I invite everybody to read the entire purport in context. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Myself and Yaśodā were discussing, everyone, a few days ago about the Gaudiya Math and the struggle that went on in the Gaudiya Math amongst his godbrothers. And it's interesting to note that a lot of times these comments that we're reading, especially in Chaitanya Charitamrita, are related to his experience with his godbrothers in the Gaudiya Math. And in future discussions, we will bring up some of these comments that are not specifically targeted towards any person, although in some letters, in many, many letters that he sent out, one specifically to myself, Yaśodā is familiar with that, where he told us not to associate with his godbrothers because it would not help Prabhupada's mission and it would not help his disciples. So he was very specific about that. And there is a lot of confusion amongst the members of our community in regards to Prabhupada's instructions in those matters. So we've written an article called ISKCON, Gaudiya Math Part 2, and it is a explanation of how this movement has become very parallel to the confusion that Prabhupada was experiencing in his association with his godbrothers. And we see a very similar situation taking place right now. The problem is right now. This is in real time. We've got real problems and philosophical disagreements that are not minor, but they're serious, like the changing of the books, like elected guru systems. This is not some kind of small trivia, but these are real issues. And that's why we discuss them in the Prabhupada Disciples Association, to keep people straight on the path of following Prabhupada's teachings, because a lot of people don't study them. Balaram Prabhu in Turkey
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu,
Sorry.
please. I'm
Sorry,
glad you put your hand up. We love you here. Don't mind us. Keep going.
Sorry,
You
Balaganesh
stimulate the
Prabhu.
group.
He
Go
says
ahead.
he says my questions take a long time to answer. It's an important, this is an important point also, like many. But I just noticed that you gave advice as PDA, as a representative of PDA, you gave advice to a lady in India about her friend who is in India. And we didn't say, you didn't say, so we didn't say to her, okay, go to the Bangalore temple or go to this temple that also is Prabhupada based and initiates on Prabhupada's behalf. So is that the position of PDA, that we're separate from these other Prabhupada based groups, or are we open? Is it okay for us to say, yeah, go there, there's a group there, you can get your association there and get your initiation there?
This is a very detailed question that you have, because there are certain philosophical issues that we want to, in essence, we want to unify everyone, but we haven't had a chance to do that yet. So that's going to require some type of, meeting of the minds. Like, I've been approached by a lot of these people from their organization in Bangalore, and who come to Canada here and have come to my ashram, and I've extended myself in a very open fashion with a lot of these people to, yes, let's communicate. But after I make that extension, there's never any return message or call. So we haven't had a chance. I know Yaśodā Prabhu has, and we started out originally working with a friend of ours in Gainesville, or Alachua, Naveen Krishna Prabhu. And Naveen Krishna Prabhu is a very good friend of Madhu Pandit, and we did try to connect with him and discuss different issues, but we never got a chance to do it. I know Yaśodā has been invited on multiple occasions to go to the Bangalore temple and to speak and to be a part of their program. Maybe you could comment for us, Yaśodā, on this particular question of Balaram's.
Well, one thing that we do have in common with the Bangalore group is that they do accept Prabhupada as the Diksha Guru and the main Acharya, the Acharya of the Krishna Consciousness movement. They do carry on initiations on behalf of Śrīla Prabhupada according to the Ritvik system. As far as practical implementation of cooperation, we personally have no objection. It's just a matter of practically dealing with the practical details. I mean, anybody who is in India, there's, for example, there's Mahamsa Swami in South India. There's Rathayatra and his wife. They distribute books in India. People can contact them. There are numerous devotees who are basically, even some people who have come on this call, some people in Jaipur, some people in other places. I mean, we do not have the structure, the physical missionary assets of ISKCON.
Right.
That has been basically taken over a long time ago. What we have is we have our websites at KrishnaConsciousnessMovement.com. I don't know if Venkat Prabhu can show that on the screen. KrishnaConsciousnessMovement.com. And we have Prabhupada Anuga's worldwide.org. We have the Prabhupada TV channel. We have our classes. What we're going to do in the next sessions, we're going to have a slide that will show the contact information for Vishwakarma Prabhu, Narasimha Prabhu, myself, Venkat, Balaram in Australia, our websites, our Prabhupada TV channel, all in one, so people can look. This is the website. This is the Krishna Consciousness Movement. It's www.Krishna, Krishna, Consciousness in Full Movement, all one word.com. There's another website that Prabhupada Anuga's, plural, worldwide.org, where there's also many interesting articles. These are the links to the website. And people can contact us. I'm also on WhatsApp. Vishwakarma Prabhu is on WhatsApp. Narasimha Prabhu, Venkat Prabhu is on WhatsApp. We are reachable on WhatsApp also. We're going to make this information more easily available next time we have a class with all the email addresses, the proper TV channel, all in one slide or two slides, so that people can basically contact us. As far as how people can get initiations, we also do initiations. We require that devotees should come to our classes for a period of at least 6 months or more, that devotees should chant 16 rounds, should get a recommendation from one of the members of HKS, Prabhupada Disciples Association, and they follow the principles. Because our experience in the past has been, Balaram Prabhu, that many people who come in contact, they like what we preach about Prabhupada, and then if they go to other groups like Gaudiya Math groups or ISKCON groups, then they say, well, but they say this, they say that, you need a living guru, this and that. But what we find that people should understand how to accept Prabhupada as the guru. It's one thing to put a picture on the altar or put a Prabhupada deity there in the room. That's nice. How are we accepting Prabhupada as the guru? How to communicate, how to understand the philosophy. What does that mean when Prabhupada said, I shall never die, I shall live from my books and will utilize? What does that mean practically? When Prabhupada says in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, he lives forever by his divine instructions and the follower lives with him. What does that practically mean? What does Prabhupada mean when he says, don't change my teachings, don't change my books? We know, those of us who were present during Prabhupada's manifested presence, we know one thing Prabhupada did not like is to invent new mantras, new chants and things. Several times I was there in some kirtans when devotees got carried away and chanted Nitai Gaur for 15 minutes, and Prabhupada's servant and personal secretary came down and says, hey, Prabhupada said to stop the kirtan. Just chant Hare Krishna and Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So we do know that Prabhupada had a certain specific way of how he wanted people to become his students, his followers, and his disciples followed the discipline. And what happens at an ISKCON, they have like somewhat of a toll gate philosophy that you have no longer access to Prabhupada unless you come through us. We are the gatekeepers here. We don't have this philosophy here because we see that Prabhupada did not do that. The record, the actual written record of Prabhupada's instructions, specifically in the last few months of his manifested presence, did not escape a caste of elitist, like new caste Brahmins, of appointed gurus. This is a falsehood. So what we want to teach people, and basically people understand they can live with Prabhupada, they can accept Prabhupada. They have to follow his instruction, follow the discipline, follow the Divyam Jnanam or the transcendental knowledge given by Prabhupada. This is how to live as a Prabhupada disciple, Prabhupada follower. There's many people in this call who are doing this. I know one devotee in Montreal is doing it. There's devotees in India doing it. There's devotees in Italy doing it. I know there are many devotees doing it. I know there's a person on this call whose wife in Hawaii, she's doing it. So he's doing it. There's a lot of people. It's a matter of the mindset has to be refocused on Śrīla Prabhupada. We are not a blind cult. We have a philosophy behind this. When Prabhupada says he lives forever and the follower lives with him, this is before he speaks anything on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Before any purports, any comments, Prabhupada is making very clear. So this has to be properly understood, along with so many other points. I see that Narasimha Prabhu has got his hands up. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Well, that was very good explanation on that. I just wanted to briefly mention that we do have 2 ashrams in India. We have Goshalas. In the past, there were very successful Gurukul there. Goshala is still going on. And there's deities, temple worship established for the past 20 years. And but these ashrams are in a remote location in the Sayadri Mountains, kind of near Udupi. So they were never really meant to attract Western devotees. They're mostly meant for the local devotees. Everyone in Dakshin Kannada, southwest Karnataka, is a devotee of Krishna. Mostly they're simple villagers, so our mission there was to create some facilities for local devotees. And like I mentioned, there was in the past, it's not, unfortunately, I don't think it's going on at the moment very well, but we've had Gurukul with government teachers there, an accredited high school program for students. Very nice Goshala and very beautiful surroundings, but there's tigers in the forest. It's a very sacred, holy place. The animals there are known to be docile. They don't attack humans. In fact, in that part of India, snake bite deaths are practically unheard of. Very auspicious place. So, if anyone wants information on those ashrams, I can also provide how to get there, how to go.
Okay, excellent. I see that Balaram is carried on with his inquiry, which I think is relevant. I wanted to ask Vinkat Prabhu, because the question here is not the question is about Prabhupada-based groups. And you were specifically relating to ISKCON Bangalore, I believe, and their efforts. Vinkat Prabhu, since you live in Bangalore, and
excuse me, Prabhu, just one other brief interruption there. Bangalore Temple has participated in one of those ashrams. One is pretty much empty. So, but generally, Bangalore Temple, I asked Madhu Pandit about cooperation with Western devotees, and his response was basically on more than one occasion that he didn't want to be involved with Western devotees. I don't know if that opinion has changed, but I'm an old friend of Madhu Pandit's also. I'm also one of the devotees in that ashram is an old friend of Madhu Pandit. So eventually he actually did participate. He brought devotees to our ashram several times. And I think he even paid for a deity or something there at one point. So
right now he's contributing money to Rath-yatra and Mahamsa in South India and their community for the building of a temple. And he's also giving money, I believe, in Alachua. Devotee Krishna Bhakta has a piece of land next to the ISKCON building. He has 3 acres there, and they're planning to put something up. So, there's cooperation evolving and coming amongst all of us. And I think it's important to promote that unity and diversity, that we're all together in this process of promoting Śrīla Prabhupada as Diksha and Shiksha Guru for everyone, and the unadulterated books are the books that we want to read. Vinkat Prabhu, could you comment for us, please, on the Bangalore situation, what your experiences are? I know I've heard it from Rath-yatra, a very sincere Prabhu. He's not, I don't see him on class today, but could you comment?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I do attend every Sunday I attend the, I don't live close to the main temple, which is the big temple. There's 2 big temples in Bangalore, run by ISKCON Bangalore, Madhu Pandit Prabhu's group. And I don't live close to either of them. So I do attend, they have satellite centers all over the city, smaller places which meet only once a week. So I do attend on Sundays for the one of those. And there's nice class, there's prasadam, there's kirtan, and so that's definitely good. And yeah, I mean, perhaps in the future we can have like a international, conference of all Prabhupada Nugas, like where we all get together, meet and discuss and resolve all the philosophical issues, small philosophical issues which are there, I mean, we do agree on the major things, right? But there are so many small issues which, can cause differences. So
I wanted to ask you a question about Madhu Pandit. Now,
yeah.
this is just to get some insight. It's not to create a problem with any of our groups, because we do want to unify everyone. That should be our mandate. But are you aware of the fact that what discipleship is he a member of himself? Or did he ever take initiation as a Prabhupada disciple? Do you know?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, based on what you told me, I think he initially was a disciple of Jayapataka Swami, and then he sort of, once he found out about this, the actual instructions of Śrīla Prabhupāda, he rejected him. That's pretty much all I know about the history. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu.
Yaśoda Prabhu?
I personally, I'm not aware whether or not he's officially ever accepted what people often call a ritvik initiation or something. And my comments are really not meant as a criticism. It is just meant as an observation. Because what you're going to find when you discuss this with a lot of devotees who have had official initiation in ISKCON, and many of them, as they become more knowledgeable in Prabhupada's teachings as well as Prabhupada's instructions, specifically, most of Prabhupada's instructions in the last few months of his manifested presence with regards to initiation, no changing the books, and many other instructions, many devotees are very, they've been traumatized by their experience and what has happened. Because people come, they're innocent. They don't know all the politics of ISKCON. They don't know all the details of what happened. They give their heart, they come, they follow, they feel the bliss, they feel some release from the pressure of material existence. That's understandable. Then people are often initiated, or they're pressured to be initiated, whatever the case may be. I don't know exactly how they conduct their process now. The problem is when people go from one philosophical position to the other. For example, what has happened with that group, they did a lot of work structuring the Akshaya Patra program, building the ISKCON Bangalore temple. And then ISKCON wanted to basically say, well, you either accept us, our position, or, and for the fact of the matter is, there's been an ongoing lawsuit in India between ISKCON and the Bangalore temple for the last 15, 16 years, with a lot of various statements that have been made, a lot of threats against Madhu Pandit and his assistant Chanchalapati. So there is a climate of exactly not the best of communication or trust between the ISKCON side and the ISKCON Bangalore side. So when people look at the initiation issue, especially when they're under litigation, it may not be like a very pressing issue. And a lot of devotees feel, and many times philosophically, rightfully so, that Prabhupada has made a lot of statements that if you accept my instruction, if you read my books, this is as good as being initiated. There was a Back to Godhead article in 1970 when a devotee asked Śrīla Prabhupada, I want to be initiated. And Prabhupada said, if you accept these principles, you chant that is being initiated. Or other times, Prabhupada said, initiation is a formality. But most devotees, they want to go through that commitment of the initiation ceremony, the commitment to the deities, to the Vaishnavas, to Śrīla Prabhupada. Prabhupada did that. Prabhupada instituted that procedure in his movement for devotees to become officially initiated, take a new name like that. Now, as far as that particular temple, They do things a certain way. They have their own Brahmana devotees, very strict devotees. They conduct initiations. They accept Prabhupada as the Diksha Guru. They do a lot of things that are basically all authorized by Śrīla Prabhupada. As far as whether one or two individuals or some individuals have taken either a ritvik initiation, I just think it's very personal. Some devotees feel, I know I've spoken to a lot of devotees, after they found out what had happened, why Prabhupada's instructions were not followed, why Prabhupada's instructions were covered, and a lot of other issues with regard to many leaders in ISKCON, they decided, hey, they wanted to make that severance, that cut, and fully dedicate themselves to Prabhupada without being involved with that pious relationship. Some other people, they sit on the fence. They want to be on both sides, which is their choice. And some other people, for whatever reason, just want to stay in whatever camp they want. You can't, in other words, you cannot force people. You cannot demand people are going to accept this position, that position, just to be tactful here. At the same time, if somebody says, I want to accept Prabhupada as my guru, well, there are implications with that. The implication, if you're going to want to accept Prabhupada, you got to follow Prabhupada. In other words, people cannot invent or manufacture a new way of following Prabhupada. Prabhupada wanted to be followed a certain way. We often give these examples that devotees are finding out that now they've invented and manufactured new mantras for kirtans and ISKCON. And I've had devotees ask me, where is this from? Did Prabhupada give these mantras? Did Prabhupada identify in any of these books what these mantras are? Did Prabhupada ever authorize this? And we know that the question is no. Prabhupada did not. Same thing with offering bhoga to the deities. It's been changed. By whom, why, how? That Prabhupada did not authorize that. Same thing with the initiation system. The more we ask many questions, and there's unlimited arguments about, oh, this means this means that. But the bottom line is, my point is, if somebody wants to say, I want to follow Prabhupada, you got to follow Prabhupada the way Prabhupada wanted to be followed. And that system of initiation described in the July 9th letter is the final order of Śrīla Prabhupada with regards to initiation for his followers and students for his movement. Just to summarize it briefly. Balaram, I see you have your hand up again. Go ahead, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Karma, Prabhu, I hope you're cool and okay with me specifically or everybody being completely open and honest. So
that's quite fine.
With that, I want to say, if I was Madhu Pandit here in this class, I'd be very offended by your question. Your question was kind of to raise a doubt on Madhu Pandit as to what is his lineage. You know, is he connected to Prabhupada? Is he initiated to Prabhupada? When our whole, the basic of our existence right here, especially in this group, is that it is based on hearing and listening Prabhupada. And as you hear and listen, you follow the instructions and you serve Prabhupada. So there is absolutely no doubt, and please show me if there is a doubt, about Madhu Pandit or any such devotee who even tries a little bit to kind of serve Prabhupada, you know, as Madhu Pandit has. So, you know, that is proven beyond a doubt that he is a Prabhupada disciple. So to kind of doubt that, I'm interested to hear from you more. Do you doubt his relationship with Prabhupada?
What we'll do is we're moving, Balaram, not to avoid the question, not at all, but we're at 12:30, which means the class has been going since 10 o'clock. So it's 2.5 hours. And, you know, I think that we're coming to the end of the discussion. We have sort of a limit here. There is no doubt about him as his servant of Prabhupada, and we're simply discussing the issues, and we hope that everybody realizes that our intention is not to offend anybody. It's to understand what are these issues and to get a clear understanding for everyone on how to move forward. So we'll move in that direction. We had Venkat Prabhu had his hand up. So let's finish up with him. Did you want to make a final comment, Prabhu? Venkat Prabhu?
Just what my thoughts are about
Please.
Pandit Prabhu. He's definitely, empowered by Śrīla Prabhupada, because if you see the way movement is expanding here in India and all over the world, he's definitely empowered to do something. So, but at the same time, I do notice there are in many ways, there are some places that they don't follow exactly what Śrīla Prabhupada has instructed. So, we just something to keep in mind. I can give a lot of examples, but for example, the Bangalore temple, the big temple, I've taken many people there, and it's always once you go to the temple, then you come out, it's like a huge market area, and it always gives people the wrong impression that, is this a temple or is it like a commercial complex? And I feel the same way about that, that temple. It's unfortunate. Hopefully we can work out all these issues with him. I'm nobody to even say that, but I'm just saying my opinion.
Well, you're just giving an insight. You're there. You have a firsthand experience with what's going on there. I've never been there. I don't know. I'm happy with.
And there's a lot of people who don't agree with the whole Akshaya Patra thing. How they're expanding, collecting money from corporate sponsors. So then government gets involved. They're getting government donations, and I think Śrīla Prabhupada said don't get involved with the government, because then they'll start dictating what to do. Like that. There's many examples now. People don't like that they're building a huge skyscraper in Vrindavan. Chandrodaya Mandir.
I wanted to make a general statement for all of us to understand one thing, that whenever you have a corporation or an organization, it becomes very complicated. The administration, the management of it. The more you develop these corporations and these businesses, etc., you're going to open up a can of trouble. That's basically it. There is no question of that. And so we have to be very careful to understand that these things are very, very difficult to run. They're very difficult to manage. Our group is a philosophical group. It's loosely connected in a sense that we're all independent operators, each one of us. We're promoting all of you to inspire people in your area to come to our classes, to get our literatures, and to remain on a platform of philosophical communication and inspiration. We've got hands coming up like crazy. Let's Shama Sundar in Australia. Just quickly, if we can answer them, and then we'll end the class.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Just a very small comment. Yeah, I've been to the Bangalore temple. I visited there some time ago.
Yeah.
Also, the temple that they're developing in Vrindavan. Just one observation I noticed was they don't seem too keen on Western devotees. I had a lot of difficulty. Actually, I wanted to meet Madhu Pandit and Chanchalapati, but they always seem to be too busy. But I gathered I didn't see many Western faces. So just the one comment I would make is that in regard to Prabhupada established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, where members from all races and cultures from around the world could dance and chant together. It seemed like a very universal consciousness. But my experience in the Bangalore atmosphere was it seemed a little bit racially oriented, that they want to sort of keep this Indian vibe going together, and Western devotees maybe Western devotees have caused a lot of trouble in the past with the guru issues, and therefore they want to kind of keep to themselves. But that's just one comment I would make, that in the difference between, say, this group that we're in here, where we're very open to everybody, whereas Bangalore groups seem to be a bit focused on just their own kind. That's just my comment.
Okay, well spoken. we've got, there's we have Ishwar Krishna has his hand, and we have Vishwajit in Russia has his hand. So we'll take quick comments from them. Ishwar Krishna, please. Check your microphone, Prabhu. You're not on.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Haribo, Jai, glories to Prabhupada.
All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada, Prabhuji.
Where are you? Where are you?
Okay. Prabhuji, I am Ishwar from Visakhapatnam. I am India, Prabhuji.
Okay, go ahead. Speak right into your microphone, Prabhu, please.
Prabhuji,
Cannot hear you.
Prabhuji.
Okay, he has a... Prabhu, you're going to have to write it out. You have a bad connection. So you'll have to get a better internet connection. Sorry about that. Vishwajit in Russia. Is that the 19-year-old?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Namaste. All good Prabhu and Vaishnavas. Prabhu, my question is that when we go in ISKCON, so we see lot of restaurants like Govinda restaurants. So what is the motive of the open restaurant in the temple, and why this idea come?
What is the idea of the what is the idea of the restaurant in the temples?
Yes.
Well, I opened a restaurant in Toronto. Prabhupada, it was meant for preaching. Prabhupada said, call it the Hare Krishna restaurant. That's what he wanted the name. He sent me a direction like that. So, and then also have a book reading room at the restaurant so that people could study the books as well as take prasadam. So the purpose is to distribute prasadam and to hopefully give people books and spread the philosophy of Krishna consciousness to as many people as possible. We're called the kitchen religion, Prabhu. The kitchen religion. And so this principle of prasadam distribution is probably one of the most effective tools for bringing people to Krishna consciousness that Prabhupada gave to us. Effective tools. So that's the reason.
Actually, Prabhuji, I see lot of Krishna Govinda restaurant in India.
Yeah.
So what I see one difference that Prabhupada says the only devotees make prasadam for preaching. But in restaurant, I see non-devotee person. Even for preparing Mahaprasadam for deities in ISKCON, I know the non-devotees make prasad for Krishna. How it's possible in ISKCON?
You show
we can't
that, please.
control what they do over there. What ISKCON does with their kitchens, their prasadam offerings, that is something that they have to resolve or deal with. I mean, I can appreciate your point of what you're observing here. You're saying they do this. I mean, we have the same problem in North America. There's a lot of Sunday feasts. They're not being cooked by initiated Brahmin devotees. A lot of the prasadam or boga, depending on where you stand on this issue, at Rath Yatra is not cooked by devotees, by initiated Brahmin devotees. So the Prabhupada had certain standards. This is what we've been discussing many times. Prabhupada expected his followers and his students to follow and obey his standards and his instructions. As time has happened since Prabhupada's departure in 1977, these standards have gradually been loosened and compromised more and more and more, to the point of what's going to happen 40, 50, 60, 100 years, it's going to be something entirely different unless there's a proper standard established. And this is a very important point. And it relates to the question that Balaram Prabhu brought up about what is a pure devotee. A pure devotee doesn't mean you become a pure devotee when you start and then you slacken off and everything has to change. No. Pure devotee means we have to follow all along the process and not deviate from the standard of Prabhupada. And this is a problem, because if you bring these issues up in an ISKCON temple, it's likely they're not going to like it. You're either going to get beat up, or I guess you're going to be shown the door, or else you're going to be called, whatever names they choose to call you. But it's very difficult to discuss these things. That's why we have an open forum here, so we can discuss this, and devotees can take the information and apply it in their lives. We can't change the way they operate their restaurants, their Rathayatras, and their deity worship. How are we going to change that? We know what the standard is from Prabhupada. That we know. We know we should follow that. That we know. Whether they follow it or not, well, we hope they can. We hope they'll reform it. We hope they'll fix it. But at this point, it's the best we can do.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Why
very...
people doing these nonsense things? Why not for Shastra?
Okay, Prabhu, we're going to end the class and the discussion because we're moving on to the rest of the day. But we want to thank everyone for all their input today. It's a very, dynamic discussion on many points brought forward by many of you. And we'll continue on Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here from North America on the East Coast, in Hamilton, Ontario, and around the world. And like that, continue to chant your rounds and follow the principles, everyone. And we'll look forward to meeting up again. And tell your friends and sincere seekers of truth, yes, Yasoda, that to join our group and become inspired in Krishna consciousness. Yasoda, Prabhu, please.
Quick note, we conclude. For those who know, today is the appearance day of Ramanujacharya, one of the great acharyas. Mm-hmm. And next Thursday, 30th of March, 2023, is Ram Navami, the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra. Fasting is supposed to be done until sunset. So just to keep that in mind, everybody can try to follow as best they can. Question for Balaram Prabhu before we in Turkey.
It was Bala Ganesh. Okay. He had a series of questions there we missed.
Do you want to ask your question, Bala Ganesh Prabhu?
Oh, he's saying appearance is next month, Prabhu.
No.
Arudra.
The calendar, the Mayapur calendar says that March 30th, 2023 is Ram Navami, appearance of Lord Ramachandra. And today, March 26th, is Ramanuja's appearance day.
Okay, well, we'll save it
I posted
for further
some
discussion.
Yeah, I posted some questions on the chat on today's verse, Prabhu. Probably
I can't hear. What did he
Okay,
say?
what we're going to do, Bala Ganesh, is Vinod, if you could catalog those for Wednesday, and we'll go to them that day. We're just run out of time, Prabhu. Sorry.
Sure,
We
Prabhu.
apologize. If you could play the kirtan for us, Prabhu, everyone chant along.
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Panchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaisnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Aloha. Goddess Priya, thank you. Haribol Vijaya Pandit. Haribol.